I want you to really think about it. Are you the same person that you were a year ago? Because if you don't take action now, everything about your situation is going to be exactly the same next year and the year after that. Now, the fact is many people don't grow simply because they don't feel like they need to. Well, here are 5 signs that you are growing as a person. Growth is on the other side of doing what you don't want to do. Oh my goodness. Have you ever known something would be good for you, but you just don't want to do it? There were plenty of things not too long ago that I did not want to do. And if you watch my previous video on how my life changed in a year, you'll know exactly what I mean. And in my situation, I just had to take an honest look at myself and I'd say, you know what, Eve, these are your weaknesses. You need to make changes, and I hope that's happening for you. Here are 5 signs that you are experiencing growth. Number 1, you feel uncomfortable. If everything in your life is too good, you're probably stuck in being not great. I'm sorry, what now? You know, there were just way too many times that I was part of the doing what's easy crowd, and you will never reach your full potential this way. And you know what, I get it. Many of us avoid discomfort. I mean, we do everything we can to escape it. It doesn't feel good. I learned this past year that the secret to growth and fulfillment lies in the very thing that you are avoiding. And they can be things that seem to break you or humble you. Things like exercising and getting fit, or cutting back on your spending, or something like public speaking. It's not easy. I, for example, avoided investing and saving money for so many years, and I had so many excuses for it. I also at some point stopped making an effort to learn. I just created this mental block around anything that felt like I'm back at school. No. I went on like this until I started to feel very switched off. And you know why this happens. Because when you have an empty routine, it shrinks your awareness. For example, think about how many times you've driven the same route to work repeatedly, or every time you drive home. You know, after a certain number of times, you start to tune out most of it, don't you? You know, you kind of like switch off. And in life, if you don't get out of your comfort zone, you might find yourself tuning out chunks of your life on a daily basis. It's so true. You can either be comfortable and stagnate, or you can stretch yourself, become uncomfortable, and grow. So embrace that feeling of being uncomfortable. It's good, trust me. The second sign that you're growing is self-awareness. Now this is a tough one because you start to realize things about yourself that you were not aware of before. And it can be a slap in the face. I have always thought of myself as disciplined and hardworking because people, tell me so, and because I was always working long hours on set, filming 6 days a week. In that respect, yes, I think I have been very hardworking and very disciplined when it comes to my career. But what I didn't ever look at is what I was doing when I was not at work. And it shocked me to realize that I have very little discipline or direction in many other parts of my life. I don't think it's a secret anymore. I was one of those people who was not exercising at all. I was spending more money than I needed to on shopping. I partied too much over the weekend. I would sleep in late. I made too many excuses. I wasted too much time on social media, and I could go on and on and on and on and on. I hadn't noticed how many hours I was dedicating to being unproductive. And you may be thinking to yourself, ugh, this is so dramatic. Everybody does that. But I don't agree. You know, a lot of who you are today as a person comes from what you learned in childhood, and from influence from your close friends and colleagues. And many of us have picked up unhealthy behaviors and attitudes that people around you kind of explain away as being normal. It's fine, everyone does it, because it's easy to do, so we've allowed it. Every vice has its excuse ready. So real change is getting honest with yourself and realizing and facing your destructive patterns and psychological flaws. That it does not feel great at all. You will feel ashamed, you will see the ugliness in yourself, but there's no better way to initiate growth. The third sign is you suddenly have the need to break away from certain people. This is inevitable. Some of the people close to you will have a hard time accepting how much you've changed. To a lot of people, change is not good. Change is scary. Like, what is happening? Who are you? What have they done with Eve? Those who care about you and want to see you succeed will support you. It won't be a problem. Unfortunately, it's often the case that when a person begins real growth, I don't know why, but others take it personally. It's just the way we're wired, I guess. We make it about ourselves. Don't you like me anymore? And it could cause resentment or anger in some friends and family. So you have to be strong enough to understand and also strong enough to detach. I'll give you an example of a colleague of mine. He was eating unhealthy and drinking too much for very many years. So he needed to lose, I think it was 15 or 20 kilos. So what he did was he cleaned up his diet and he quit alcohol altogether. But the thing is, every time his friends would call him up and say, okay, yeah, it's been a while, let's catch up, it would always be a drinking plan. Even after he explained repeatedly, I don't drink anymore, I don't really want to go to the bar. No, just have one. And then he also realized that he didn't really enjoy, those late nights anymore, now that he was sober. It's very different when you're sober. Drunk, superficial conversations, people are spitting on you as they talk because they're talking very loudly. So that wasn't what he wanted his life to be, and I can totally relate to that now as well. You must know how this goes. He had to break away from those friendships so that he could achieve his goal. And maybe this sounds familiar to you. If you're going through a growth period where you're rediscovering who you are and what you want in your life, it's often a challenge to find common ground among certain people as your mindset starts to change. Just let me know in the comment section if you agree and if you're going through this yourself. The fourth sign that you're growing is you make fewer excuses and become more disciplined. I never realized before how many excuses I made. Oh my gosh. Or that I found it very difficult to simply say, I made a mistake. I should have done that. I'm sorry, I messed up. We may not even realize how, on a subconscious level, we kind of justify all sorts of things. Why we haven't lost weight? Because burgers are yummy. Why we have to go shopping for clothes that we don't need. Why we're in debt. So starting today, just try and make fewer excuses. Pinpoint that reason that you make those excuses. And actually, that was the first step for me. I had to hold myself accountable and figure out and explore why I felt the need to instantly make an excuse when I do something wrong or I do something that I shouldn't have or I forgot to do something. I always come up with an excuse, to cover up. Secondly, and I'm not great at this yet, but I'm trying really hard to be more conscious when I make excuses out loud, which is a subconscious process. And breaking that habit requires a conscious effort. You know what? Catch yourself when you make an excuse and stop it or reel it in, take it back. The fifth sign that you are growing as a person is you live a simple life. Now, this may be an unpopular opinion, but stay with me. Hear me out. There's a lifestyle called minimalism, where the aim is to live with a minimal amount of things that will give you the most satisfaction. And it has been said that owning less makes you happier. I embraced a part of this lifestyle when my husband and I relocated to the UAE, and I ended up giving away, it must be like 70% of my clothes, shoes, handbags. And you know what really upset me is I had hardly worn or used most of it. I'd spent a small fortune on my wardrobe over the years. I hardly even used it. Does that? So now I choose to live a life of freedom rather than following a script where you're only cool if you have lots of expensive things. I try now to buy what I need, not what I want. If you spend your hard-earned money just to impress other people, what is the reason? Because at the end of the day, it's just a habit that you formed over time. Is it something that you do to give yourself a boost or a high when you're feeling down? Because trust me when I say less is more in almost all areas of your life. So don't pay attention to the noise, the stress, the chaos of people you're competing to outdo each other. Identify what is truly important to you and focus just on those simple things. I'd like you to think about these 5 signs. Hit the like button and let me know in the comment section whether there are areas that you feel you need to change or you've started to, if these changes or these signs sound very familiar. And I'll sign off with a quote by John C. Maxwell, a coach and speaker on leadership. Growth is the great separator between those who succeed and those who do not. When I see a person beginning to separate themselves from the pack, it is almost always due to personal growth. Thank you so much for watching and look out for a new video next week. If you've been looking for love or just like fed up about how your dating life is going or not going, I will break down from my personal experience 5 reasons why you are still single. And I wish someone had told me this years ago. It's going to be a really interesting one. For now, have a great week. I'm sending you so much love, big hugs, and we'll talk soon. Bye.